He spoke to the Congressional Black Caucus, and of course he's spoken there each year at their dinner since he's been president. And here's what he had to say that caused a little ruckus this week.
I'm going to press on for the sake of all those families who are struggling right now. I don't have time to feel sorry for myself. I don't have time to complain. I'm going to press on. I expect all of you to march with me and press on. Take off your bedroom slippers. Put on your marching shoes. Shake it off. Stop complaining. Stop grumbling. Stop crying. We are going to press on. We've got work to do.
Before I go to Jeff, here's what Cortland Malloy said in the Washington Post. For most of his term, Obama has studiously avoided any public mention of race. To show his concern for the nation's suffering, Obama will take a helicopter from the White House and swoop right over depressed black neighborhoods in the district. Then he'll catch a jet out of Andrews Air Force Base, land in some swing state to comfort a largely white crowd whose votes he dare not take for granted. But oh, happy day, it's our turn.
If we're going to be serious, I mean, I think that's an overstatement. I don't like, and I have not liked, how I think there's been an avoidance of the race issue by this administration. However, I'm not so unsophisticated to be able to realize that many of the pieces of legislation that have been passed have helped poor, disenfranchised, and African-American folks. So the real question, I think, and this speech really said it more than anything else, is are we going to continue to be the overly sensitive demographic that doesn't know politics? Or are we going to realize the real issues that we're facing in this country and the real political battle that's getting ready to take place? By that, I mean, I think the president's message was a good one, because at the end of the day, if we are going to critique the president, let's do that, and let's do it in a sophisticated way. But at the end of the day, it is election time. It is campaign season. And if we don't support the president, who are we supporting? If we're not putting those marching boots on, who are we supporting? Now, I'm not sure who he was saying has slippers on and who didn't. Right. But I think at the end of the day, those people that do have slippers on need to take them off if they want to see this president in the White House again.
Well, it's an interesting thing, just in terms of what he said. He said, I expect everybody to march with me. And I'm paraphrasing here, take off your bedroom slippers. Well, that presumes that someone has been laying down and asleep at the switch when, thus in the process, he's been doing all the work, which, contrary to what a lot of folks are telling me, is that, wait a minute, where have you been? Mm-hmm. We have been on Martin Luther King Avenue. We have been, in Southeast. And where have you been, Mr. President?
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. I used the football analogy. You played a little football, right?
No.
What? Oh, you didn't?
Oh, no. I got a brain. I like to keep mine.
You just look big, right?
I look big, but no.
But let me say, I played a little football, and I used the football metaphor. I've had quarterbacks walk into a huddle where everybody blew a play, and they're all complaining. They're all doing this and doing that, words I can't use on family Sunday morning. Quarterback walks in and says, stop it. Just shut up. We blew it. I fumbled. I didn't get the ball in the right place. We still have a game to play, and we've got to win. That's what I mean. I got chill bumps listening to that, because what he was doing was challenging us. Okay, we haven't done it the way we're supposed to. This is not the time to be complaining about everything, because we've got to win the game. That's exactly how I took it.
And let me say, to Joe's point, I won't necessarily go with the sports analogy, but let me just say that I think he was talking specifically to the Congressional Black Caucus. You talked about, Jeff, whether we're going to be a sophisticated constituency and understand politics or not. The average black voter does understand politics. They understand why the president doesn't talk about race. But it's the Congressional Black Caucus that has both privately and publicly often criticized the president. He doesn't address black unemployment specifically. They're complaining about what I do. He got a lot of complaints over the debt ceiling cave-in, which he deserved, I think. And so I think he was specifically saying, if you listen to the whole speech, you were there, he said to the Congressional Black Caucus, we did all these things together. And now there is more work to do, so stop your complaining and let's do these things.
Roland, one of the biggest issues here is that there hasn't been the effective communication to be able to have that kind of conversation and people get it. So even the criticism or the challenging is one thing if we've been talking and I feel like we got a relationship.
And you can
it's just like family, right? You can go into your family's house and say, look, y'all, you got to get your stuff together. We got to move because it's family. I don't think everybody feels like family.
Well, first of all, if we want to really be honest, and the White House would sit here and say, oh, no, we have a great relationship. No, they don't.
No,
there is not a good relationship between the Congressional Black Caucus and the president and his administration. In the book Confidence Man, Ron Suskind talks about at that first health care summit, Congressman John Conyers desperately tried to get one of those invites. They said absolutely not. When Congressman Conyers criticized the president on various issues, Afghanistan, Iraq, the president calls him up and says, hey, what's the deal with you talking about me? As opposed to, I think, you respect a senior statesman like Conyers, and you say, hey, John, can you drop by the White House around 8 o'clock? I just want to have a conversation with you. And I think, I really do think that part of this issue is that President Obama does not like to do the traditional schmoozing that is necessary to bring people along. And when you look at the voting record of the Black Caucus, they've been voting for most of the president's initiatives. They've been there.
This is not an ideological argument.
Right.
This is a communication issue.
He's got to learn how to be. He's got to learn how to be like Johnson. And I think I've made this point, and we were talking in the, we don't call it the green room.
We call it the black room. That's right.
Because the food is just that good. But he needs a Lewis Martin. Now, young folk listening may say,
have no idea who Lewis Martin is.
Lewis Martin was President Johnson's go-to man for the black community. He was well respected. He respected everybody. When he knew what was happening among the people that you're talking about,
and
the senior statesmen.
Because he was the editor of the Chicago Defender and the Michigan Chronicle, he understood the art of communication.
That's right.
Now, I know somebody watching is saying, yeah, but the president is black, but here's a reality.
No.
Every constituent group that you have needs the go-to person, whether it's women, whether it's Hispanics, or whatever.
Right.